Hello lads and welcome to yet another video. Now today I'm going to be talking about Twice Upon a Time. You remember that? It's better late than never, and I mean it's not as if anything new's happened in the universe since, so I mean it's still relevant. See, the thing is I'm recording this like 3 weeks before you see this, so I have no idea if that's a joke or not. Now let's cut to the chase. Twice Upon a Time. It was fine, I suppose. I mean, it wasn't really. It was bad. It was bad. Okay, I'm putting it out there. I did not like it. You might have liked it. I didn't. Let's get this out there. And it's not one of those things where I'm like slagging off anyone, or I don't feel like I've got to say this every video, but I'm not like, you know, a who hate or everything. I'm just giving my opinions. And the thing is about Twice Upon a Time, what I really didn't like about it is that it was like trying to be a character story, which is great. It's never really been done in Doctor Who before, and I am loving that it's trying to be experimental and try to introduce new things to the show to keep it fresh. But the fact is, it didn't work. And the reason it didn't work is because it wasn't a character story. It tried to be, but it wasn't. It pretended like it was a sort of action-adventure story. It wasn't too sure what it was, because you've got this whole thing, you've got this like action with the glass people, and you've got this mystery surrounding who they are. And it establishes this threat, which turns out doesn't exist, and that just results in disappointment and dissatisfaction in the whole setup of that thing. The glass people, they don't really serve a purpose, but to have a reason as why Bill's back, and the actual reason why Bill's back is because, quote Stephen Moffat, I was a third of the way through the script and I thought, you know who I want to come through this door? I want Bill back. Yes, because that's how writing works. And the thing is, it's not fair to compare Doctor Who with other franchises' character stories, because, I mean, Doctor Who's its own totally different sort of genre in a sense, but the fact that Doctor Who hasn't really done a character story before, I have no real choice but to compare it to a good one and see where it went wrong. And, I mean, the first thing that came to my mind was Black Mirror's Be Right Back. Now, if you haven't seen Be Right Back, then first of all, what's wrong with you? And second of all, the basic plot is, so you get an idea of it, there's this couple, one of them dies, the other one brings him back as a sort of AI robot who uses his social media history to sort of replicate his personality, but he can't be an exact copy of the thing, which causes distress and emotion. He tries to throw the robot off the cliff, but the robot realises that the person wouldn't want to be thrown off a cliff, so starts crying and breaking down. He gets stored in the attic. Spoilers alert. Hang on, dead people being brought back through technology. Maybe this is more applicable than I thought it was. Whoops. Be Right Back also has Donald Gleeson in. Oh God, no. Please, I don't want to do it. I don't want to die, sweetheart. I don't want to die. I don't want to die.
That I can turn on and off pretty much instantly.
General Hux.
All remaining systems will bow to the First Order!
Oh, stop it, you're breaking my heart.
And will remember this as the last day of the Republic!
But the reason I've chose this is because it does a sort of character story in a science fiction franchise right, because there's no externalised antagonist, there's no villain, the technology works as it's supposed to, the conflict comes from the characters and the emotions and the sort of interactions between them. The conflict is completely within the dialogue and the characters. You don't need these aliens taking over and causing a threat or a mystery to it, and that's what this should have been. It's what Twice Upon a Time should have been. You don't need glass people. It was common sense to me that the conflict from this would be, and I thought it was how they were going to go at like the first 5 minutes. You've got the First Doctor who refuses to regenerate. I will not regenerate. I can either live on as someone else or die as I am, and I choose to die how I am. And the 12th Doctor's like, no, you can't die how you are, because if you die now, then I won't exist, and that'll be a big paradox. And it'd be the 12th Doctor trying to convince the First Doctor to regenerate and show him the benefits of regenerating and why it's a necessary evil. And then from that he'd learn himself and he'd then regenerate on his own. I thought that would have been a perfect story. Then you'd have some use out of the First Doctor and have a reason why he's there. We'll get to that later. But no, you've got, who are these glass people? We have to find out who they are for some reason, which is another thing. Away from the conflict and the lack of that, there was no plot. And when I say there was no plot, I mean there was no conflict, there was no stakes, there was no threat. And when I say there was no threat, I don't mean there was nothing threatening, which there sort of wasn't. I mean there was no stakes. There was no reason for me to care. Why should I care if they find out who the face of the glass person is or not? What's going to go wrong if they don't find out? There was none of that. It was just like, we've got to find out whose face it is. Because reasons, I think that was the goal, I think that was the motivation of the characters, to find out who the face was for some reason, instead of focusing on the whole regeneration conflict and trying to resolve that problem. No, let's focus on a face. Okay, now the First Doctor. Why was he there? Seriously, why was he there? If there was no conflict between his situation and the 12th Doctor, if there was no sort of compromise on the regeneration thing, if there was none of that discussion taking place, why was he there apart from to make uncharacteristic sexist jokes? If you're going to have a multi-Doctor or a multi-Time Lord story in such a short amount of time, then the other incarnation of the Doctor has to have a purpose as to why he's there. He's got to serve a function. And the best way to do this, I thought, was what Moffat done in The Doctor Falls with the Master. You know, literally an episode ago. Now, John Simm's Master, okay, he didn't contribute to what was going on. He didn't contribute to advancing the plot in any way, but he served a purpose. He was there to advance Missy's character arc. He was there as a symbolism of the evil within the Master, and that advanced and gave purpose to Missy's conflict to become good, and her good versus evil debate. That ended up in a conflict between the two, and both of them killed each other, because good and evil cannot coexist. That was fine. I've talked about this before, but I loved that. I loved the use of that. It was a perfect way for those two to interact, and it was a decent reason for John Simm's Master to be in this. This was not there with the First Doctor. He served no function. Maybe you want to show that regeneration has always been a fear of the Doctor. Maybe you want to show how he's progressed by making him sexist and rewriting his character to show, oh, we've come a long way since the 60s. I've talked about that, and I don't think that's justified considering Moffat's run. But, you know, you can watch where I've ranted about that somewhere else. But he had no sort of arc, the First Doctor. I couldn't pinpoint the moment when he thinks, oh, okay, I accept regeneration and I accept it for what it is. I see that it's a necessity now for survival and I see that it's needed. There was no point. As far as I remember, he was just like, oh, I think I am ready now. And, okay, quick note, David Bradley, I love him as an actor, but he didn't do the First Doctor justice. The First Doctor had, like, sort of confidence and sharpness to him, and he was just a bit weak and mumbly for me. I mean, you saw it in the first sort of 5 minutes in that archive fade. You had William Hartnell going, love, pride, hate, fear! And then it faded to Bradley, who also, have you no emotions, sir? It might be of his age, but I just don't think it was the right choice. Okay, moving on. Fan service. What was that? There was just too many of it and nothing sort of connected with each other, really, without sort of some contrived link in there. It's just like Stephen Moffat, right, okay, Peter Capaldi's last story, what can we do? Okay, the 12th Doctor's in there, the First Doctor's in there, let's bring Bill back, Rusty the Dalek, he's in there, Brigadier's dad, he's in there. Okay, great, I've got all these elements. Now, how can I construct a story out of this? And to be honest, I still don't know how he answered that. And the other thing with fan service, before I move on, is that it's a Christmas episode. I've mentioned before how the Christmas specials are a prime time to bring in new fans and introduce them, because that's probably when Doctor Who gets its most views, when there's this family tradition, okay, let's all sit round and watch Doctor Who. Remember the good old days when David Tennant was in it and it was good. If you've got the casual viewer watching this, they're not going to understand Rusty or the First Doctor. Christ's sake, they're not going to understand bloody Brigadier Lethbridge Stewart's dad being in there for some reason. They just want something nice and easy, and that conflict between the 12th Doctor and the First Doctor would have done that good. You just need a basic understanding of what's going on, and you could easily find that anywhere, and you'd introduce that, and you'd get introduced into that point quite nicely, but that didn't happen. To be fair, the Christmas truce, that was a nice touch. I'm glad it was handled really well, and it showed our humanity is just kind, and it was that nice sort of thing. I'm talking quickly because I'm ranting about this bloody thing. I'm sorry, I liked it. I liked the truce. I loved Jodie's entrance. I'm not too sure about Peter's finale, because I don't like it when the Doctor goes into speeches like that, because, to be frank, nobody talks like that. He was talking to himself, I think, and instructing his future self on the principles of being the Doctor. But you'd think that. Surely that'd be internalised thought. You wouldn't say that out loud, because if you're just saying your thoughts, then, to be fair, that's lazy writing. And Peter Capaldi done it justice on screen. His acting was phenomenal with that script. And there was too many points in that speech, and I thought, okay, that'd be a really nice closing words. Oh, no, okay, we're going on. Oh no, yeah, those are Capaldi's last words. Really poignant. Oh no, we're still going, okay. And it was just like, Moffat had these loads of ideas for last words, but he couldn't settle on which one to use, so just put them all in there as one giant rambling mess. And of course, to close it, Jodie, the only thing I really enjoyed about this episode, I mean, I'm not saying it was a terrible episode, there's been worse, but Jodie was a highlight for me. I mean, just, I'm so excited to see her, because that was fresh. I mean, it was just like another, oh, the Doctor regenerates and now the TARDIS is crashing, but the way it was just dealt with, the way it was shot, the way it was acted, I'm so excited, and it feels just so new, and I can't wait. Maybe literally disintegrating the TARDIS was a smidgen too far, but, you know, it done its job for getting me excited with Jodie's era. There's probably points that I've missed out. Oh, you bet there were points you missed out. Editing J. No, wait, I'm editing J. Video J. Nice, we've got the order sorted. Clara's return. Okay, I don't like Clara. Didn't want her to come back. But the fact that she made the Doctor remember her took away the only bit of emotional depth and sort of the last effect that the Series 9 finale had, and it just erased it. So there's no now consequence to whatever happened in the Series 9 finale. So thanks. Thanks, Moffat. Thanks. Anyway, yeah, I hope you enjoyed this little rambling rant for what it's worth. I mean, did you enjoy Twice Upon a Time? Do you think it was a good send-off to Capaldi? Let us know in the comments below so I can ignore them. And I'll see you next time for something else.